Hey everybody, Cathy McLeish back here with the series on alcoholism. I am an alcoholic. I'm an alcoholic in recovery, and I got in recovery when I was 27 years after I'd blown up my life with alcohol, living with an alcoholic, and just a whole big mess of crazy. So I feel compelled to tell a story today, and it's a sad story. There's parts of it that are funny, and you're welcome to laugh, but for the most part, it is a sad story of what alcohol does in a family life. And I am going to tell it for what reason? I think I'm going to tell it because there is this big cloud, hazy darkness over alcoholism, and we don't speak about it out loud, and yet so many people suffer. There were in my life people that tried to help me, and there's all different ways people try, and most of them are wrong and they don't know it, but thank you for trying. Thank you. And I will go through this story and point out a few of those. And if it can help somebody when they come across somebody that is struggling, I sure hope it can. So here's kind of the story. I was married to an alcoholic, like I said, and I was drinking at his drinking alcoholically. Okay, so I'm looking at this person and I'm like, you were the problem. You were the problem. I drink like I drink because of you. And we drank quite differently, so that made it a little bit confusing to me because I felt, according to my strong values at the time, that he drank worse than me, so he must be an alcoholic. He did things like drank and didn't come home or passed out, in front of the kids. And I didn't. I was this high and mighty alcoholic that hid all of my drinking, that a lot of people did not know the problem that I had because I had just shrunk my world down so small that you weren't invited into it to see. And so this difference in our drinking, even though I was so sick, made me look at him and fight him day and night to get sober. So he has this job playing in a band. I loved it when we were single. I loved it before we got married. I loved hanging out in a bar till 2 o'clock in the morning, drinking free. That was great. And when we got married, it had this whole different spin on it. I was instantly home with my stepsons, and then I had, these two other girls that we added to our family. So I had 4 kids at the age of 24. I didn't know what to do with that, and I was drinking at that as well. My inability to rise up and be a good parent, a good mom. I wanted to do that. I got into that relationship in order to do that, but I couldn't do it. I had none of those tools. I was insecure. I was impressionable. I was angry and rebellious and a fighter. And so here's what happens one night. Plays in the band, doesn't come home. Doesn't come home all night. In fact, I think he sleeps at his brother's. It was, as far as I know, it was on the up and up, and he just didn't get home. And so I'm up the next morning with the kids, probably Saturday or Sunday, and I'm irate, and I'm an alcoholic, so I'm drinking at this anger. And by the time he comes home, I'm drunk. I'm operating, but I am under the influence of alcohol. And he goes upstairs and he goes to bed. He doesn't say anything, no excuse. No, I'm going to make up for that. Just goes up and goes to bed. And I'm thinking that leaves me while you sleep for the day with the kids. And that is unfair. And I'm going to do something about it. And so I went up after him and I started to say, this isn't going to work. You're going to have to do this. And he was like, get out of my face. You know how you are after you have those drinks? It's just like you want everybody out of your face. And on the other hand, you have those drinks and you want to get in somebody's face. And so I did. And we're talking the 80s, okay? So what did I do? We didn't have air conditioning. We had fans in every room. And I got on top of him, like straddled him and said, this isn't going to work. You're going to get up, wake up, wake up. And he was like, you get out of my effing face. So I did. I got up. I went over, picked up the box fan and threw the box fan at him. Now, if you can picture this, it's kind of set up for something horrible to happen. And I want to say none of it was my fault, but I will take 50% of the fault in this situation. And you don't have to agree with me, okay? I'm not trying to get anybody on my side. I am telling my story and how I went back and I looked at it and talked to people about it and went through therapy about it. And this is what I came up with. And so, if it helps you, it does. If you disagree, we will just agree to disagree, and that is perfectly fine. So, throw the box fan. Excuse me. Leave the room quite in a hurry, and I hear this thumping coming down the stairs after me. Now, I have set myself up for a horrible situation, and a horrible situation happened. I was backed into the corner and used like as a punching bag. And I hadn't experienced that before. I'd experienced bits and pieces of abuse, but nothing like that. And so I don't want to talk the details about my kids. Maybe I will at some other time. But this is a serious situation, and I have just struck at the anger in this individual, and he has struck back. And so when, I get away from him, I call the police. He rips the phone off of the wall. I go to the neighbors. We call the police come, and he is taken off to jail. That was a time when you had to wait for the woman to press charges. They passed a law after I was divorced from that guy, and the law said if the police officer assesses the situation and it looks like abuse, the police officer will take that man away or that woman away. And that wasn't the case. I did have the courage to have him arrested and taken away. I came right back on that in 24 hours and said, I can't deal right now with not having this second income. I can't take this father away from the kids. That's a whole nother video in and of itself. But we were, back together in like maybe a month after he lived with his mom. Anyways, this is what alcoholism did to my family. I drank, he drank, we drank at each other, and we had situation after situation that we could not handle. And we were affecting everybody around us, the neighbor, the kids, the police officers, each other. Our extended family that some were invited in, many were not, that had to deal with the repercussions of what had happened. So I want to, shine a light on the ugly. I also want to shine a light on the denial of the reality of the situation and how many people really couldn't look at it and say anything about it out loud. So I go to what would be called, a clinic today, Ready Med, and I need stitches. And I'm not the woman I am today. I'm not this confident woman that is like, I got this, fix me up and I'll go back in the ring. I was broken, and yes, I could put up a good fight, but in the end, I was just a shell of a woman. So I'm sitting on this cart or whatever, and they're stitching me up. And there's two of them, and they never ask me a thing. They never say, what happened? Are you in a bad situation? Is there a number I could give you? There was no conversation about how I got there with a busted face and two black eyes. And you know what that does to a woman when people won't address abuse? No matter how many times you've told her to get out, whatever. It just puts this hammer in the coffin of, I'm not worth anything more. So if you don't talk to me about it, if you don't help address it, if you don't help me see the truth or a way out, I don't want to say that you're a part of the problem. Yeah, I do. I want to say you're a part of the problem because I had no self-worth. I might have looked like I put myself in that situation, deserved that situation, but there was a reason I was in that situation. It was much bigger than me, and I could not get out of it on my own. I had this much self-worth, and the message I was getting from people is, you made your bed, you lie in it. Is that a 70s, 80s expression? I don't know. But it was kind of like, you got yourself here, you deserve it, you figure it out. And please keep your drama out of our lives. So I'm not saying we didn't have people that loved us, people that cared about us, but it is such a hard thing to face and talk about with anyone you love that it perpetuates this situation, this disease of alcoholism, until it has just spread like wildfire into the lives of everybody around it. So I told you there was a little bit of funny, and it's probably really not, but I was feisty, and so I'm like thinking, this is never gonna happen to me again, and I signed up for karate lessons, okay? Right down the street from my house, there was a karate academy, and so I am signing up for karate lessons, and anybody ever comes at me again, and I'm gonna beat the shit out of them. That's my plan. But I'm an alcoholic, and I drink every day. So I'm drinking on karate lesson day because you know what? I've signed up for something I'm too scared to go to, so I need some alcohol. So I drink and I get to my karate lessons. And unbeknownst to me, it is a male-dominated atmosphere. And so there is one other woman besides me. She looks quite athletically fit, which I was not at the time. And 20 guys. And there was a little bit of an attitude of like, what are you women doing in our, karate class? And the instructor tried to, look at us like we were all the same and we're not gonna play favorites and we're not gonna pamper the women. And so for every exercise, he would put me on the mat with a guy. On a mat, mainly with a guy that did not want a woman in his karate class at the time. I mean, we're talking the 80s. And so I paid to go to a karate academy. I'm gonna show this ex of mine, this husband of mine, to get beat up by 20 other guys under the protection of law. I paid for it, and was I hurt horribly? No. I mean, it doesn't feel good to be on the mat with somebody that is bigger and stronger than you until the instructor says stop. But overall, when I go back and I look at it, here was this woman that wanted to make a statement that didn't run it by anybody outside of herself. And that was my solution. What's my solution for this situation that I have no control over, that is getting uglier and uglier by the moment? I will sign up for karate classes, and I will take this guy out or any other guy out the next time. And the truth of the matter is, I'm an alcoholic. I can't follow through. I need a drink to get over the fear. And whatever dream I have of coming out on top the next time is going up in smoke because I'm an alcoholic. So this is the crazy that I lived in. This is the insanity and the denial and this big smoke screen over the reality of my life. And I want to use it as a story, as an example, to say, if you can relate to this at all, I'm an alcoholic. I'm Cathy McLeish. I struggled like that for, 12, 15 years, and then I got help. And that is when I came to be the woman I am now, with a lot of work, with a breakdown and a build back up. That shell of the woman needed to be filled up. She needed to be able to see what was holding her back and what she had inside her that could be brought out, because there is a lot. You think that you're in this situation, you think you don't deserve more, whatever your situation is, and it is so not the truth. You just need to take a step of faith, a step of courage, and ask for help. And then you're on your way. And it is a long journey. It's a painful journey. It is an amazing journey. But as my husband says, choose your heart. If you don't think that story was hard, that life was hard. On the other side, there were hard moments. There were hard days. Sobriety is not easy when you want to drink every day, all day long. But that hard was so much easier and so much more rewarding than the hard of staying in the problem. Again, I'm Cathy McLeish. We're doing this series on alcoholism. I hope that it can shine a light on the ugly and on the hope of living a life that is different, getting out from under the crazy and the insanity and coming in to recovery, something new, something better, the life you were intended to live. So subscribe, follow, share if you know somebody, and if you don't, you will. So pack this information away for another day, and please keep coming back.